The next one, probably I would say this, I don't know, it's either toggler or transform are probably going to be my two favorite things in the swatch pack, to be honest, in terms of wowness factor. You know, everyone likes shiny new things, and these two things are definitely new and definitely shiny. Okay. So transform. What is a transform? A transform allows us to, allows us to transform an element. And essentially it allows us to, you can either move. Okay. So in this example, the default state of all these four squares at the top is its transformed state. Okay. So, and I made it when you hover over it, it puts it back to the default state. Okay. Just to also show you that you can animate things very nicely with a transform. So this is moving. So you can move an element up, down, left, right. And you don't have to apply an animation like I'm having here. If you just want to have something shifted over or scaled or rotated, you don't have to apply the animation. So it could just be permanently rotated on the page, right? I just wanted to show you in this example here how we can scale, move things, rotate things, and skew them all on hover, right? One thing that's kind of cool, I think like this skew could be really interesting on a button. I should have done that in one of these examples, you know, where you have a button and when you hover over it, the button kind of, you know, kind of cool. I think that could be fun. Brownie points if you do that today and post it on the Weaver Space community. Okay, just skew a button and on hover, just kind of, it could be really playful, right? So anyway, I think that's going to be cool. This is kind of the granddaddy effect. I did like an entire live stream on creating this effect. Now, I've actually made it in the project file you have. I've actually optimized it and made it nicer. Okay. If you notice here, essentially this does use transforms, and that orange square sweeps in, and then when that's almost done, then we have a slight delay, and then the white box animates down, right? And then when we hover out, we notice that the white box will animate up, and then once that's done, the orange box. So it's basically the opposite, right? And that's just a really, really cool. Like, that's just cherry. Like, that is really cool. So I want to see you guys take these swatches and build something like this. Like, don't copy. I mean, you can copy this, be free, use it wherever you want. But let's think outside of the box and how we can do really amazing stuff like this. Okay. And yeah, this just blows, something like this just really makes your website pop, right? It's a small little animation that is just really cool, and people will just hover over and just play with it, right? Because it's cool. It is. These buttons here are just some other ways that show how we can use animations with transforms on a button. Now, actually, I have to admit that these particular ones aren't very beautiful. Like the animations of the colors aren't too great. But after I built these, at the very top of this page, I built one with a hollow button. Now that is cool. Okay, I actually think this implementation, same exact thing, just, you know, slightly different. Same exact thing, but slightly different. Yeah, that made sense. So I think that effect on a hollow button is much cooler. Okay. I'll probably update the site and just, you know, I'll probably pull these examples down or tweak them. Maybe I'll add a skew button here just to kind of show you can use a skew button instead. I really don't care for the color transitions on here. You know, the color on this button at the top of the page, that is gold. That is really nice. So take a look at this. This is obviously in your project file as well. This is the better way to do it. Okay. I'm not going to review. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not going to review this. I did an entire live stream on this one banner. Okay. I'm not going to review that today. Okay. You can see the implementation. I organized it into different pens so that it is, you know, organized. There's a lot going on there. Okay. If you step through it step by step, it's pretty, you know, should be understandable. Okay. Let's look at some of these simpler ones. Okay. So these boxes that shift and move. Okay. These guys right here. Let's look at some of those transform squares. That's these right here. I'm just going to hide that banner, the banner header thing. Okay. So these transform squares. The transform swatch allows us to, as I said, allows us to move things, scale things, rotate things, skew things, or both things. So you can move and scale, you can move and rotate, right? So you can do any combination of those things. So here I'm moving the square negative 20 pixels. Basically, you're moving it to the left 20 pixels, and I'm moving it down 20 pixels. Okay. And then essentially here on hover, right? Oh, here on hover, I'm essentially setting all of this to 0. So I'm setting move, scale, rotate, skew to 0 on all of the transforms. Okay. So yeah, and then I have a transition swatch as well. So here, the move one, again, I set the move to negative 20, 20, and it moves. For scale, I set that to be 1.2, and it scales. Okay. Rotation, set that to be 20 degrees. And skew, again, that allows you to skew things. Okay. Those are really simple. Okay. You can, those are very understandable. So just applying that one class to the container. So like in this, for instance, I have, I'm adding the skew class. So that skew class is added to this container here, and that will skew that, or rotate or scale or move based on those classes created by those swatches. Now, one thing that's interesting is I told you we're going to look at this button, that implementation, and it's interesting. Okay, it's not. I'll admit the effects that are going on are not logical, okay, until you understand them. So I thought it'd be fun to go over that. Okay, so here I have just a normal link stack. I set it to be a hollow button with a border radius, okay, and let's go over some of these things. So to start off with, I added an overlay BG, okay. I added an overlay background, okay, of purple. And what that does is that will add an overlay to this stack and make it purple. Okay. So yeah, but we then need to animate that. I guess what I kind of need to do is here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this one by one here. I'm just going to basically disable all of these just by adding something to disable that effect. Okay, so now the only thing we have here is this overlay background. Okay, and let's preview that. And there we go. I now have this overlay background that's purple, but obviously that's horrible. I have a hollow button, but then I'm adding a purple overlay on top of it, and then my text is purple, so that just looks horrible, right? But we can do better. Okay, so so first off, well, I guess we'll work on the transform. Okay, so first off, we're gonna add a well, this transition actually is the animation part. Okay, so this let's add that after that. There we go. Okay, first off, we're gonna add a transform. And this one, actually, it took me a while to think of this implementation. I'm going to go ahead and fix this class name so that it's by button. Okay. If you look at this transform, it scales X to 0. So essentially what this is doing, if you look at me right now, you have a square and it's setting the horizontal scale to 0. So essentially it's going and it's squishing that overlay. Okay, so we're targeting by button before, which is what the overlay background swatch is. Okay, and we're squishing it. Now, if this was an image, it would look weird because it would squish the image. But because this is just a purple box, if it's squished or if it's 1,000 pixels wide, it just looks purple. So we're squishing it down to 0. So by previewing this now, we go from this purple overlay button to our normal button. Now that overlay is still there. We just squished it all the way down to 0 so you can't see it. Okay. Then we go ahead and add a new transform stack, a new transform swatch, and we add a hover event to that. Let me change this class to fix it so it's by button. And then we're scaling that to be 1. So we're going from 0 to 1 to 100% basically. So we're saying scale this on hover from 0 to 1. Okay, let's preview that. Boop. There it goes. Okay, so we got our purple background now. Okay, but we need to add an animation to it, and then we need to make the text white. Okay, so we know how to add animation, so we add a transition swatch. We're going to delete that so that the class is the correct class. So we add a speed of 300 milliseconds. We apply the property just to the transform, and we set the pseudo state to be before because that's what we want to animate. We want to animate the overlay background, which is the before element. Okay, and then while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and set the font color on hover to be white. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So now when I hover over it, we get that animation and our text color is white. Mind blowing. Okay, now for this particular animation, what I'm doing also is I'm animating. So this is an interesting thing where I'm actually going to animate the text color. So we're animating the text color at a different rate than the transform. So we're animating the transform at 300 milliseconds. And then for the text color, I'm going to delay that by 150 milliseconds and make it a little bit slower. So 400 milliseconds. So let's see what the final animation looks like. So if you notice that the text color changes a little bit after, about when that scale is about halfway through, then the text color changes, and then it takes a little bit longer. So just playing around with some of these things just really makes it pop. And this last transition, just by tweaking the text color, just by a little bit, making it having different animation timing than that overlay background, I think just really makes a big difference. It really makes it the fine tunes that a lot. So there we go. That was a fun one to do. I really love this button now. We're probably going to see this button all over the place now. So go ahead and use it.